Welcome back to my kitchen, friend. If you are new, my name is Becky. Today we are going to be doing some big canning projects. I've got 3 different beans that I started soaking last night. I have never canned garbanzo beans, kidney beans. What's the other one I have? I have canned navy beans. I think that's what I have, or Great North, a white bean. I didn't think I used to like garbanzo beans that much and kidney beans, but when I was pregnant, I found out I loved them because they were one of the carbohydrates I could have without spiking my blood sugar. I'm sure if you're new, I had gestational diabetes, and beans were one of the carbs that I could have that actually didn't affect my blood sugar. And because of that, I have fallen in love with kidney beans and garbanzo beans. I've always loved pinto beans and navy beans and black beans, but now I like more beans. If you're wondering, I just put some whole milk in my coffee, and then I've been using this vanilla monk fruit in my coffee, just like 2 or 3 drops, and it is delicious. We've got 19 minutes left on the dishwasher. Last night I pulled out from where I keep all my jars, a bunch of jars, and I went ahead and I got them washed up this morning. My sink is full of dirty dishes. We'll ignore that for now. What I did last night to get prepared for this canning day is I did soak my beans overnight in just some cold water. That helps kind of pre-sprout them. It helps kind of plump them up so they can up better. And it's supposed to help with digestion. One reason I like to can my own beans, one, I grow a lot of beans in my garden. If you're new, I have a huge garden. Consider subscribing if you want to see how I grow beans. These beans I did not buy, or did not grow. I bought these from Azure Standard. I can link Azure down below if you're interested. But when you can them yourself, one, you're canning in glass, which I really like, and you can reuse the jars over and over. So it's a little less waste than a store-bought can. And 2, you can actually pre-soak your beans, and so it can make it easier to digest. So in this pot, I have kidney beans, white beans, and I have kidney beans, garbanzo beans, and over here, we have white beans. So last night I went ahead and I soaked them overnight so that they could plump up, start the sprouting process, and then I rinsed them off really, really well this morning. And before I was ready for the day, I went ahead and put them in these 3 pots, and I have now boiled them for 30 minutes. And now we can actually start jarring them up, except for the fact that my jars are not quite done yet. So while we're waiting for our jars to, I think they're just cooling off a little bit, or I'm not sure what they're doing. They have 16 minutes left. That should give us more than enough time to get started on our other canning project. My goal was actually to paint the chicken coop today. Yesterday, my son and I went and picked out the paint for the chicken coop, and I had a bowl out, but I think it got actually thrown in the dishwasher. It is raining, so obviously we are not going to be painting today. So I thought instead of doing a bunch of outside projects, let's go inside and get these projects done. So here I have a food mill. I've never done this with my berries before. I want to can up some blackberry jam, and it is officially canning season now at this point. So we'll be bouncing around doing a lot of different things. I also need to do some bread baking. I want to get dinner going, because there's some downtime during the canning process. And so I can be getting other things done. So normally when I process my berries for jams, I use a fine mesh sieve and I use a spatula. But I thought this might actually be a little faster. I don't mind some seeds, but blackberries are just so seedy that I want to get the majority of them out. And we're going to do something fun today. We're going to use a different pectin. I've used it once in the past, but it was probably 6 or 8 years ago. It was when we lived in our first house. It was one of the first canning projects I ever did. I use Pomona's pectin, so low sugar pectin. You can use, I think, anywhere from like a 1/2 cup or a 1/4 cup of sweetener to 2 cups, which is quite a bit less than traditional pectin, and I used the lowest amount you could use, and it was not our favorite, so I haven't used it since. But this time I'm going to use a little bit more sugar in it than I did the first time, but not as much sugar as I normally use. We use jams in our house a lot for flavoring plain yogurt that I get at the store, for putting on pancakes, for putting on waffles. We use it for making fillings in cakes. And so I want there to be some sweetness, but I want to see if we can kind of reduce the sugar just a little bit from traditional. So I'm just going to mill up all of these berries. Is stuff actually coming out? I think so. They're still a little bit frozen. I got these from Azure too. These are some organic blackberries. And I give a lot of jam away as well. So I want it to be good so that it is good enough to give as a gift. Okay, yep, pulp is coming out. So this is gonna take me a minute. I do think it will be a little faster than doing it with a fine mesh sieve, but we'll see how long it takes. See if we can do this before our dishwasher is done. It has 13 minutes left. I just don't see much coming out. I'm not getting very far with this very quickly. I think I'm gonna switch to my tried and true and see if I can get this done a little faster. I don't know if it's because they're a little frozen or I don't have a fine enough disc at the bottom there. I'm not sure, but this might be a little faster. I think I need to get a smaller bowl though, that I can get a little bit more leverage, and then I can dump this smaller bowl into that bigger bowl as it fills up. Okay, I think I figured out the trick to use this. I need a smaller bowl that I can actually push the handle down on, and this is actually going much faster now. Probably should have warmed the berries up because they're still kind of frozen. That probably would have helped too. I am not done with that project, but my jars are ready to come out of the dishwasher and I can get them filled up. And the canning of the beans is going to take the absolute longest. So that's what we're going to switch focus to right now. Now, I've never canned kidney beans, and when I soaked these, some of them were breaking in half, which is not ideal. Ideally, they would stay nice and intact. One benefit of pre-soaking and pre-cooking your beans before you jar them up and can them is they tend to break less. But it could just be this variety of kidney bean, because my garbanzo beans and white beans did not split like this. And my black beans and pinto beans that I can don't usually split. Now, not all of them, just a couple of them. I'm just gonna rinse them off here. I just wanna show you. See, most of them are intact, but there are a couple that just, you know, split open. They're still fine to eat. It's more just the texture when you go to cook with them. In a soup or chili, it wouldn't matter at all. But I really like bean salads. And bean salads, you kind of want the bean to, ooh, these are so hot. You kind of want the bean to be whole. Okay, I have no idea if I washed enough jars. I just washed a bunch of them. I'm gonna get these filled with these hot beans while these are hot. I do need to put salt in these, and I am just following the canning directions in my manual. I don't know where I said it's right here, which is the same directions as you would find on the National Home Food Preservation website. It's a free resource I can link down below for you if you're new to canning. You cannot water bath can beans. They have to be pressure canned, which is what we're gonna do today. And you don't have to add salt. That's another cool thing about when you can your own beans, is you can choose to add salt or not. I always choose to add salt. But I can link my canners and some free resources and my favorite canning book down below. But you don't need a canning book necessarily to can beans because the National Home Food Preservation website has the directions on there, and it's the same directions on that website that's in my manual. So here we go. We got our jars. I think that's probably maybe enough. I should probably get my canner out too and get that warming up. So these are just par cooked. They are not all the way cooked. I always like to put the salt in first, so it's easy to see which ones I've salted and just know that all the jars have salt in them. But you can do it either way. I just took a quick break to cut up a watermelon that was requested. And I thought, you know what, let me grab the canner and get this filled up and starting to heat up. You want everything when you're canning to be kind of the same temperature. You want your jars, the contents of the jars, the water you're putting in your canner, when you put your jars to be the same-ish temperature. So that is my goal here. And I think I can get, 18 pints of beans in this pressure canner. This is one going on the stove. I do have an electric one that can go on the countertop as well. And I might pull that one out as well. I would like to get one round of canning done. And if I can do it and not have to heat this thing, cool this thing more than once, that would be nice, because there's the time that it takes to pressure can, just like an Instant Pot. You can't can in an Instant Pot, but it's the same concept. It takes time to come up to pressure, then it has to can, and then it has to come down to pressure before you can open it. And so it takes a while to can beans, because it takes a while to can them, and then it also takes a while for it to heat up and cool down. Okay, so that's filled up properly. And we're gonna have everything be about roomish temperature, because by the time I actually get these in the canner, they will have cooled off from the dishwasher. And I got 2, 4, 6, 7 pints out of 34 ounces. I just bought little bags, 37, 34, and 36 ounces worth of beans in each one of these bags. Getting these cooked before I got in the shower was a huge time saver for me. This is going super fast. And getting my jars washed earlier too is a huge time saver. And good news, I think I washed enough jars for these 3 different beans. Two, 4, 6.5 jars worth of garbanzo beans. One of these jars will probably end up being a mixture of the 3 beans, so that I got a full jar. So with that in mind, I have 4 jars here that have salt in them. So I'm gonna get 2 more out, maybe just 1 more, and we'll get the white beans in these jars. That one needs a little salt. We're actually going to use some of these beans, these white beans, for dinner tonight. So whatever doesn't end up fitting in a jar, I will just put in tonight's dinner. And I'm going to use the Instant Pot to make dinner. So I'm getting 2 uses out of dirtying that once. Always good practice to wipe the rims of your jars. Actually, what I'm going to do first, I just pulled that dishcloth out of the drawers. I'm going to fill these up. And then I'm going to debubble, and then I'll wipe the rims. There's a grocery store that I've taken you all to a few times called New Seasons, and they have the best deli out of any grocery store. And they had a 3-bean salad that is what made me fall in love with kidney beans and garbanzo beans. And my goal when I was pregnant was to, at some point, try to make it myself, but I just did not have that in me. So I used the help of the deli, and I really enjoyed that bean salad. So I'm excited to finally get around to this project where I can open up a jar of kidney beans, open up a jar of garbanzo beans, rinse them off, make a simple vinaigrette, and they have onions and cabbage in the salad, and it's just so good. It's high protein, high fiber, cost effective if you make it yourself. It was not cost effective to buy it at the grocery store, but it got me through. But this is gonna be cost effective. Now I'm gonna be very careful. I'm gonna take a chopstick and I'm gonna gently debubble these jars after I get them full. And I'm gonna make sure I have the proper headspace. I believe it's 1 inch headspace for beans. And this went so quick. I cannot believe how quick this was. I thought this was gonna take forever, but it's gone by so fast because I kind of did some of the work while I was getting ready for the day. And this looks so pretty to me. I have a few extra beans in here. I have 1 jar that is got some garbanzo beans and some kidney beans. And then this is the leftover in my soup tonight. I'm gonna use some garbanzo beans and the white beans. But this will be good because the salad I like to make has both of those, so that's fine that I'm jarring them together because they have the same processing time. Some of these I think I've filled up too much and some have not been filled up quite enough. So I'll go through and make sure the headspace is good. I went ahead and I washed the lids as well, just to get any manufacturing dust or anything off of them. At this point, I did turn the water on this canner to start warming up, and it's just pretty warm. I can keep my finger in it. These are nice and warm, so they're about the same temperature, and you want that so you don't break jars. And I think I might be able to get all of these in here because I can double stack this canner. I might not be able to. I didn't count how many I had, but we'll see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I can get 10, and I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Shoot. I don't want to pull my other canner out just to can 1 jar. Let's see, I need another rack. That's what I'm looking for. You can double stack your canner if you put a rack. I'm trying to think what I'm gonna do. I am going to just add that 1 jar of garbanzo beans to our soup tonight. And if I get extra soup, I'll just freeze it and that will be perfect. Now I need the lid to this. My favorite, and I'm gonna turn this up, burner is this one because I know right where to keep it, right at the pressure that I want. So anytime I use my pressure canner, I like this burner here. We got 20 pints of beans plus what we're gonna have for dinner tonight, and that was so easy. I do wanna make some bread, and I still need to obviously work on our jam, but I think I'm gonna get some bread going because that needs time to hydrate the grains. It needs time to ferment and things before I can actually make it. We need some bread for the week. I don't have any sandwich bread or anything, and my family's new favorite is pita bread. And my son, I just asked him when he was in here asking for watermelon, do you want pita bread or do you want Sandwich bread. He wants pita bread. The bread with the pocket. Looking for a bowl. So I have dinner going in the Instant Pot. I'm sauteing some veggies here. We'll put the beans in once that's done. I have some pita bread resting here. I've not added the yeast to that yet. And now I'm gonna get going back on making the jam because that's gonna saute for a minute. And that is almost to the point where I can just put the rest of the ingredients in and put it on to cook. And I think part of this Mills problem earlier is my berries were a little too frozen because this is actually going quite a bit faster now. I read last night the directions for this pectin, but I'm definitely going to need to reread it again. And the chore gel that I usually use, I can make that almost with my eyes closed. I still refer to the directions, but I've made it so many times, but this is so new to me, I'm gonna have to read the directions quite a few times before I feel like, okay, I got it. I think my dough, my pita dough, is done kneading. Get this on here. We're gonna let this rise. I am almost done with this. I will add some of these seeds back to this. It's not that we want a seedless jam. I just don't want it super, super seedy because blackberries can be intensely seedy. What I've been doing, it's kind of funny, I was thinking about this as I was milling these seeds out. So I've been adding chia seeds to my yogurt, and then I'll usually add like a tablespoon of jam and some fresh fruit or some frozen fruit or something like that. But I was thinking, I'm taking the time to take the seeds out of this, and then I'm just gonna add seeds. But this is more for things like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or cakes. The nice thing about having homemade jam on hand is you can use your jam as a cake filling, and it's already done, and it's so delicious. I'll even put dollops of this in oatmeal if I make oatmeal, or if I make baked oatmeal, which I haven't made in forever. I used to make that once a week. But I would just put some swirls of homemade jam in it, and I would use that as the sweetener. Oh yeah, this is almost done here. You know what, I think I'm gonna put this in my oven with the light on just to help the rising process a little bit. I think that's about as much as I'm gonna get out of there. Maybe I'll try one more time. Every once in a while I go backwards to loosen up stuff that's stuck on the bottom. Let's see, is that getting more out? Oh yeah, okay, I'll be here for another minute or so. And then I need to wash out one of my pots and start measuring out how much pulp we got to figure out how many batches I can make. I think we're gonna call that good. Oh my goodness, I almost just threw this across the floor. I just got this pot washed out and I spilled some water on me, but I'll be okay. I will not melt. And I do remember that one batch of jam, we're making jam technically because we're not starting with juice. Where is my directions? All right, nope, that's my soap making book. That's another project we're gonna start today too. I have the freeze dryer going and I think I probably actually could stop it now. So for every 4 cups of fruit, that's 1 batch, you can use anywhere from a half a cup of honey to 1 cup of honey, or 3/4 of a cup of sugar to 2 cups of sugar. Which 2 cups of sugar for 4 cups of berries seems like still a lot of sugar, but okay, I'm gonna set my timer for 10 minutes. That's still way less sugar than even the low sugar recipe I normally follow. So we're gonna go with the higher amount, and we'll just work our way down to a lower amount until we find the perfect sweet spot, pun intended. And one of you all told me that you actually use allulose, because with Pomona's pectin, you can use sugar alternatives. And you said that allulose works really, really well with making jam. That's 1 recipe's worth. But we're gonna use sugar today. Maybe in the future we'll experiment with some of those, or we'll experiment using honey, because we do have bees, and we got a lot of honey last year, so I could use honey, but I kind of don't want to use my honey in case it doesn't turn out. So this right here is 2 cups. This is probably going to be 2 cups here. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to add very many seeds back because we basically got exactly 2 recipes worth here. I need to set a timer. Okay, I have a timer. I'm just gonna put maybe like a 1/4 cup of seeds back in, just to add a little bit of texture, but not as much as there was going to be. And this is where I need to stop and actually read the directions, because I know there's things we need to add to this pot, and we need to measure out the sugar and stuff. I'm just not exactly sure what all that is yet. I have a half a cup of water in this jar. And we're gonna do the jam, jelly, marmalade, low sugar or honey. And for every half a cup of water, we're supposed to add 1 teaspoon of calcium and shake well. Measure fruit or juice into a pan. Add lemon juice or lime juice if recipe calls for. We do not need to add that to the blackberries. Add proper amount of calcium water into the pan. So for every 1 recipe of fruit, we need 2 teaspoons of this calcium water. So we basically have to dilute it. So what does it say? This is where, this is an extra step. It uses calcium to firm it up that I'm not used to. So I bought this pectin a while ago and I'm just getting to using it. So for every half a cup of water, add half a teaspoon of this calcium. And 1 packet of Pomona's pectin can make a lot of jam because there's still more calcium in here. Turn that down just a little bit. And we're not even gonna use all of this in here. I have 1 jar of the raspberry jam we made last time. I gave some away and then we've just been going through it like crazy. And then I have 1 pint left of strawberry jam we made last year. But I do have a bunch of freezer jam that I've not gone through at all, so I need to start going through that. So to this, we need 2 teaspoons of calcium water. This is 1/4 of a teaspoon. So we need, teaspoon's dirty. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I think we bring this to a boil. Okay, we're gonna bring this to a boil. While this is coming to a boil, we'll measure out our sugar. On the back of this box, it says 1 box can make 22 half pints. And then on here, on helpful hints, it says there can be some discoloration. And when I made raspberry jam using this pectin. I used the least amount, so it must have been a half of a cup of sugar, and I need 8 of these. This is the pectin. So basically we're now making, it's the same as any other pectin recipe. We're adding the pectin to the sugar. The only difference is this. 1, I need 8 of these. 2, 3, I'll come back to my thought. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll put this back in the pantry, and I will put this in the fridge, and when we make our next jam this canning season, we'll just pull this out and use this if we like this. But last time I used it, I did the least amount of sugar, and the taste was okay. It was raspberry, but it discolored over time, and it wasn't that appetizing. And sugar is not only a flavor enhancer, but it also is a color stabilizer. And so, I don't know. If I'm gonna take the effort of making something, I don't want it to kind of, it purpled. So it was kind of weird, because normally when you think of raspberry jam, you think of this like really bright, vibrant color, and it was not that. So our sugar's ready. We're just waiting for that to come to a boil. That's been venting for 10 minutes. I'm gonna put the lid on, it's gonna pressurize, and it's gonna start to build pressure. I'm gonna get this out of here. And now, while I'm waiting for our jam, or our fruit basically, it's not jam yet, to come up to a boil, I'm gonna start doing some dishes. I need to get some jars out. I washed 1.5, they're these jelly jars that I washed for these. I like canning in half pints, pints, and this is a half pint, so it's 1 cup. A pint is 2 cups. And then these are 1.25 pints. These are jelly jars. But I thought these would be pretty. They have like a quilted texture to them. I don't know how many I need. So I washed 2, 4, 6, 8. We might need more than that. I do have this, and I could wash a half pint. But what I'm gonna do is finish unloading this dishwasher. I washed the entire bottom and top rack of, this is for another project too, we're gonna get to in just a minute. My dishwasher, I washed both the bottom and top rack completely of jars, because I didn't know how many jars I was gonna need. I thought we were gonna make way more canned beans, but these were, where'd my bag go? These were little bags, and I think it's actually like the perfect amount of beans, like 8-ish pints of each variety. We basically got dinner and a canner full, which is awesome. We'll be able to go through 6 pints of each variety in a relatively quick amount of time, because I do still have pinto beans and black beans downstairs. I want to can enough to make my time worth it, but I also don't want to can too much that it's just going to sit for too long, and it's going to take us too long to go through it in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, so I washed way more jars than we needed, but that's okay. I would rather wash more jars than not enough jars, because I do not like hand washing my jars. You just need them clean. You don't have to sterilize jars anymore. And I do wash them and then I put them up, but they're sitting in my pantry, dust and things, so I always like to wash them one more time before I jar anything in them. And now I'm gonna tackle this. I'm gonna get as much of it in the dishwasher as I can, and then I'm gonna hand wash, obviously, like the cutting board and some of those knives. I do not want to put some of those things in the dishwasher. This is actually not just dishes from this project today. This is some dishes from earlier in the day too. I'm looking for all the tiny fiddly things, and I'm gonna load those into the dishwasher first. And I'm setting aside all the big bowls and things that are easy to hand wash. And I'm going to, if I can fit them in here, I would love to fit them in here, but I know I won't be able to get everything in here. And so I'm gonna hand wash the more larger, easier items to hand wash. And I don't even think that I will be able to get all of these fiddly things in the dishwasher either, because this is pretty full. I had done all the dishes last night, and then we made muffins late at night. And so that's what happened. And I didn't feel like unloading the dishwasher and loading it after the muffins came out of the oven. So that's why we ended up with a bunch of dishes. Normally I try to have the dishwasher empty and the sink empty before I start any sort of cooking project, but it doesn't always happen, and that's okay. I think I've gotten as many items in this dishwasher as I can, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this started. I can see that my jelly is ready for the next step. If I say jelly, I mean jam. Oh my goodness, as soon as I dumped the sugar in there, the smell that hit my nose was absolutely wonderful. And then I do add a little bit of salt to my jelly and jams. Actually, I don't make jelly. I keep saying jelly, but this is jam. I'm gonna put probably about 1.5 teaspoons just to help balance the sweetness and bring out the natural flavor. That is not in the recipe. That's totally something I just add. And now we're gonna have this come to a boil and boil for a few minutes, and then it is ready to jar up. Now I'm gonna tackle all of these dishes to wash by hand. I'm still waiting on my bread to rise. I'm waiting to watch my jelly, I'm watching my canner. If I was wanting to move on to something else and I didn't have other things in the kitchen, what I might do is just put these in the sink, let my dishwasher run, and then fill my dishwasher with these. But because I'm kind of needing to be in here to watch the canner and I'm dealing with bread in the oven and things like that, I'm just gonna go ahead and wash these by hand. Set that there. Just trying to make some space for myself in the sink and over here where I can put my clean dishes. Now I'm just gonna get started. All right, my jelly is boiling. I'm gonna set a timer for 1 minute, and then I'll take a break from these dishes and I'll get that jarred up. And then I realize I've gotta grab out another big pot to can up my jelly. My jam. I have to can up my jam. I'm a little worried this isn't gonna set. I'm gonna do a little trick that will tell you pretty quick if your jelly's set, because it just didn't seem like very much pectin to add. So before I completely jar this up, I'm gonna put this in the freezer for a couple minutes. We're gonna let this cool quickly, and we're gonna see if that sets. If not, I need to boil it a little longer, I think. Because it only called for 2 teaspoons of, did I put 2 teaspoons or did I only put 1 teaspoon of pectin in with the sugar? Now I can't remember. I'm just used to it already kind of gelling on the sides even this quickly, and this is not gelled yet, so I'm a little nervous about it. If it doesn't set, I could let it boil longer and add a little bit more pectin, or we've got basically blackberry syrup, which would be good in cocktails or on pancakes or waffles or whatever it might be. Oh yeah, it's gonna set. It's already setting up. That is plenty sweet. Honestly, I don't make blackberry jam, very often. I think this is probably actually the first time I've ever made it. I could definitely reduce the sugar on that. That's pretty sweet. I'm gonna make a note next time I make blackberry jam, and when I make strawberry jam this year, I'm gonna make strawberry jam with this Pomona's pectin. I've never done that before. I'm going to cut the sugar down maybe by a half a cup or a cup. I'll have to think about that. This one is not full enough to can, so I'm just gonna put that one in the refrigerator. Yeah, that's plenty sweet. I wouldn't want it any sweeter than that. And with jellies, this is something you really need to wipe the rims down, because if any stickiness got on the edge, it will prevent a good seal. I'm super excited about this because that's definitely sweet enough, and I definitely think I could go down by at least a half a cup. Because strawberries are pretty sweet. That's why I'm thinking when I make my strawberry jam. Now raspberry might need the 2 cups because it's quite a bit tartar. These blackberries must have been pretty sweet though. Okay, I'm gonna go get a canner to can these in. This I'm just gonna put in the fridge. I have all the dishes washed by hand that I wanna wash by hand. I've got the jelly going here, jam going here. This I have a timer on because we've reached pressure. And I just pulled these calendula flowers out of the freeze dryer. And let me just show you the Willy Wonka-ness of what it's like to put calendula flowers in the freeze dryer. I'm gonna get my directions back in this Pomona pectin. They puffed up like, it's crazy. Can you see how they puffed up? It's like they are filled with air. That is so interesting. I've never freeze-dried flowers before that I can remember. I don't think I have. I've dehydrated plenty, but I've never freeze-dried. And that is super cool. What we're gonna do is infuse this olive oil with these calendula flowers, and I wanna make soap for Christmas presents. So infusing the oil into, or infusing the flowers into this oil is gonna take some time. And then when you make soap, if it sits for, I'm not an expert soap maker by any means, but if it sits for a while, then it firms up and it lasts longer in your shower. So if I can get it done this summer, I can give it as gifts this Christmas, that would be good. And I'm using an olive oil that was not our favorite. Josh and I did a taste test of olive oils, and this one was, I mean, they were all fine, but this one just wasn't our favorite. So I need to start using up, I gave a lot of the olive oil away, but the stuff that I kept, I need to start using it because olive oil has a shorter shelf life. And so I thought, since this wasn't our favorite tasting olive oil, we're gonna turn it into soap. And I have some lard that I rendered from a local hog that I'm going to use that and this and make a soap. Let's see, how many ounces is this? This is 1 pound, 34 ounces. One recipe's worth of soap calls for 12 ounces. There was a way you could infuse it faster by heating it up. According to this book, I'm gonna show you the book that I use for making soap. This was a recommendation from you all, and that's why I bought it. The Simple and Natural Soap Making. She's got a lot of fun recipes in here with using things out of your garden or from nature. She has like carrot soap and pumpkin soap and tomato soap. And then more traditional ones like lavender and things like that. She doesn't actually have a calendula soap, but she talks about how to infuse different herbs and things into oil so you can kind of come up with your own recipes. So that's what we're gonna do here. Trying to get all the air bubbles out. I'm gonna put the lid on this and I'm gonna let this sit in a dark place for a couple weeks, and then we will make soap out of it. Feels good to use this up. I'm gonna Sharpie the date onto this jar. It will wash off, just so I know when I started this. I have dinner done. Oh, you wanna go out? I got the dishes put away, all the hand wash dishes. There are some dishes in the sink that I never turned the dishwasher on. When the dishwasher's done, I'll get those in there. Canner's going, and both canners are going, pressure canner and water bath canner. I just went out and gave the chickens those blackberry seeds, and I found 3 ripening strawberries out there, which is pretty exciting. I have another 40 minutes, I think, give or take, on the pressure canner, which is perfect timing because this naan bread that I made has risen. Or it's not bread yet. The naan dough is risen. So we can go ahead and preheat this oven to 400. I need to stick my griddle pan in there because I need my griddle to be preheating too. You know what? I have my Instant Pot there with dinner on keep warm. I was gonna actually cook in this oven, but I forgot that I spilled something in it, and I haven't cleaned it up yet, and it will make the whole kitchen super smoky. So what I'm gonna do is I'll just roll this dough out over here, and then I will drag this over there when I need to cook it. It's nice looking dough. I don't even know if it's quite as nice as the dough that I made last time, but didn't really follow a recipe then. Didn't really follow a recipe now. So things are bound to be a little bit different every time. We'll see how well these cook up. That's 1,229 grams. To get 9, I need them to be 136-ish grams, which is a good size. I can tell this dough is not quite as hydrated as the last time I made it. I don't think that should be too much of a problem. As long as I'm within like 8 grams or so, 10 grams, I'm not really worried about it. How many did I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. What I like to do when I am rolling out pitas is basically making like a dinner roll shape. I just turn in all the sides, roll it, and then I flatten it a little bit. When you do that, the gluten tends to want to tighten. Gluten is like a rubber band almost, and it wants to kind of tighten back, spring back. So it's good just to let it rest for a couple minutes. I covered my dough balls with just a damp, clean towel so that they didn't dry out. And then it makes the rolling out into discs much easier. The gluten does not quite get as springy, I have noticed, with fresh milled flour as it does with all-purpose flour. But either or, if you're using fresh or all-purpose, it's good just to let them rest for just a minute before you try to roll them out. This is done. This is our jam. It has been boiling away, and I'm going to just let this sit with the stove off for probably 15-20 minutes or so, just to let everything just kind of relax a little bit. We still have, I think, about 15-20 minutes or so left on our pressure canner, but while that's been canning, I've been getting these naans. Have I been calling these naans? These pita breads cooked. They're coming out beautifully. I got 10 of them. So basically in the time it took us to can the beans, we got a big pot of soup done because my soup is done. I went out to the garden and harvested some kale and got that in there. That soup would be better if I had cream. I don't have cream, but it's delicious. It's an Italian white bean soup with kale. And that's gonna be dinner tonight with this naan. This is obviously way more naan or pita bread. Pita doesn't necessarily go with soup, but my family is really enjoying this for sandwiches, whether it's a savory sandwich or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Josh has been enjoying it. My son's been enjoying it. There's something nice about being able to stuff it. It's easy to hold. Things don't spill out of it, and it's just been really nice. So it's been a favorite. So we got 10 of these done. My guess is none of them are gonna make it into the freezer, but maybe they will. The fresh bread doesn't last as long as store-bought bread. So I'll keep it out for a day or two, and whatever's not eaten, I'll throw in the freezer. Soup's done, jam's done, beans are not done, but that was a very successful day in the kitchen, and we got our oil steeping. I have our olive oil in here, and the kitchen's basically clean. I forgot to turn that dishwasher on again. It is officially going now. So very successful. My original plan was to do outside projects today, but it poured this morning, and I think it's actually starting to dry off now. So my goal is going to be to try to get outside tomorrow. So it kind of just worked out that I was able to get these like inside kitchen projects done when the weather was not cooperating quite as well. So that's great. And dinner is done. It is 2:53 right now. All I have to do is wait for this to be done, wipe the counters down one more time, and everything is clean and ready to go. Here, I'll show you what these jars look like coming out of the oven. Once they're done canning, I will turn the pressure canner off, like the stove off, and it's at about 12 pounds of pressure right now, maybe 13. It needs to go down to 0 pounds of pressure before I can open the canner. And then I will let them sit on my counter overnight. Then I will wash the jars, label the jars, and put the jars downstairs. And we will have 20 jars of beans that we were able to can, plus I think there's 6 or 7 jars of jelly that we got done. For some reason, it's easier for me to stand on this side of the oven to flip these. So we were able to kind of restock the pantry shelves, which is awesome. Super, super great. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being you. If you want to watch more videos, let me pop them there. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.